If you're a high achiever and you had a successful career and now you're getting closer to retirement, but you're not certain how to keep that purpose and meaning going in retirement, or if you know it's time to be done with work and you're ready, but you just want to be certain that you make this next chapter your best yet, then I've got some practical and actionable ideas for you to make retirement your best years yet. I've really seen two kinds of people out there. Those who are excited about retirement and they're ready to be done with work as well. And then those who don't even want to think about retirement because they're either too busy to think about it or they just don't know what they're going to do with their time and they're kind of worried about what that might look like if they were to stop working. So if you're either one of those, stay tuned. But if I haven't met you yet, I'm Dave Zoller, and I've been helping people retire for more than a decade. And we have this entire retirement planning firm dedicated to serving people like you. We're really selective with who we can work with and who we can bring on as clients, but we still have this desire to help everyone. That's why we created this channel. So if you like the number side of income planning and learning about tax reduction strategies and investment strategies in retirement, but you also realize that there's more to a successful retirement than just the money piece, subscribe so that you don't miss future videos. The first few tips are for if you're a business owner or an executive, or you just really like your career and what you're doing, and you may feel like you even have some purpose or status or identity tied to work. And you might think that retirement with just endless day after day of golf or leisure won't quite do it for you. Then I've got good news for you. And as a side note, from conversations that I've had with other retirees who went into retirement with the mindset of retiring from something, kind of running from something, after a year, they've had to make a bit of adjustment. Often it's kind of a letdown as they reevaluate what they're doing, but you don't have to do it that way. Versus the person who has that mindset of retiring to something. They seem to be more prepared and on the mental side of things for this next stage of life. I don't know if that's really making sense right now, but it's just that mindset shift of focusing on that positive, moving forwards toward something versus running away from the negative. That can be a big factor as you're planning and getting into retirement. Here's the good news. You can have a rewarding and fulfilling life after work, even if your career filled those needs of purpose and significance and some of those other things we talked about. So first we'll look at some questions to ask yourself, and then I'll share some activities of what other people like you have done and are doing to have a successful retirement. Before we get to those questions, the first thing is we definitely have to just make sure that the finances are all lined up right. That's a given. It's hard to focus on your ideal retirement and the mental side of it if you're worrying about or unsure about the financial plan. Now there's over 100 videos on this channel on the numbers part of retirement, but that's not what the focus of this one is about. So after the finances are planned for and you're feeling good about it, then think about what would make you a success in retirement. Now, how do you do that? Well, you may have your own definition of success. One version that I've heard is to do what you were created to do. Now, how do you do that? Well, here's one way. I'll pull up my screen. You may have seen this before. You might already know what you're really good at and what you really like doing. If you can find the intersection of those two things, that's a great start. But there's a piece that might be missing for some, maybe you. There's a third piece that could be, what does the world need more of? Or what do people need more of? Now, here's an example of what this means. A client of mine retired. He was a business owner. He had a successful accounting firm, and he was a CPA. Part of his work that he was good at was meeting with clients and then simplifying the complex tax picture so that it could be easily understood, which was important to a lot of people. What he found was that when people would trust him and trust the firm with their taxes and with money things, they'd often bring up things happening in life that were kind of more important than money. And he had this skill of listening and providing what many people thought was wise advice. So he was good at it, and he really loved doing it, and it's what people needed. They really came for the tax things, but there was more that they ended up getting. It just so happens when he was working, there was this fourth category that came into the mix, and that was there was monetary value involved. People were actually paying him for this. Now in retirement, he has assets that make him money, and he doesn't have to work for income anymore. So he doesn't have to think about the financial side because he's got a financial plan, but he's still using his listening skills and his curiosity and his care skill to meet with other business owners or younger people who are interested in business to listen and just give thoughts on what's really important. So that's bringing him a lot of joy today, and that's giving him a lot of fulfillment here doing all of those things. And the interesting thing that does happen is if you can focus on these and actually get something here in the center for all three of these, a lot of times what we've seen is sometimes that bucket or that circle of money actually does come back into the picture. Even though you don't, sometimes it's freeing when you don't have to think about it or worry about it, but there is some optionality in that in the future for a lot of people. Now, if you're looking at this and you're like, Dave, I have no idea what you're talking about, look for the Retirement Purpose Guide below. It can walk you through getting the answers to these questions to help you do that self-discovery with guided questions along the way to make it easy for you. Now let's get into a few more questions to ask yourself, and then I'll also share what people are doing, people like you, what they're doing in retirement to make it more fulfilling. So question one to think about is, how much time would you want to put into things like hobbies? How much time do you want to put into vacations or family time? And if you can hear the kids right now, I got to get up to some family time, so I'll make this brief. But other questions, volunteer work. How much time do you want to put on that? Also corporate or non-profit board work, or even how much time on work that's maybe that side job or side hustle, something that's more flexible than the career that you're doing now. How much time would you want to spend doing that? Question two is to think about that, kind of what the world needs part, or what people need. What causes or charities would you want to give time to? The third one is, what leadership skills or expertise do you have? Because your unique skills, they don't disappear when you retire. They can still be used to help others or to help family. And then four is, what relationships do you want to go deeper with in retirement? Not that you'll have more time, whether it's family, friends, or God, if faith is important to you. Next, let's look at some of the activities that people like you are doing to find more joy and fulfillment in retirement. And if you're liking this so far, please leave a comment or click the like button so that hopefully this message can spread to other people that are just like you. Now, some people look at their retirement, or really look at their entire life, as 3 acts, like a play. The first was kind of the learning. The first 20 years was learning time. The middle third was applying those learnings to probably earn an income. And then the last third, the last part of life, could be, yes, enjoying our time and enjoying the fruits of our labor. Because when retiring, you probably have more money than you ever had, and now you've got more time than you've ever had, more free time. And you know that cliche, it makes me think of the cliche quote of time is money. And I believe that it was actually Benjamin Franklin is the person who made that well known in some of his writings, but I actually don't agree with that, and I'd like to hear what you think too. I would say time is actually more valuable than money. Your money can actually make you more money, but it can't make you more time. And if you run out of money, you can make more, but if you run out of time on earth, you can't make more of that. So of course, let's enjoy the time in the third act. But what others have found, and what maybe you feel, is you can put a little icing on the cake and experience a greater fulfillment if some of the things that you spend time on is using what you're good at and what you love doing to help others. You could spend your time or your skills or your money this way. One person said that fulfillment is using your unique ability in serving others. A few examples of this could be things like offering time to mentor a younger person, someone who's coming up in your field of work. Or another thing might happen is that you get asked to be on boards of companies or nonprofits when you're retired. Actually, a piece of advice from a business owner client of mine said to think about saying no to offers the first 6 months after you stop working, or 6 months to a year. That way you can be certain it's the right thing to commit to. Also, you don't have to be on the board to make a huge impact in a nonprofit. Go back to that question of, what does the world need more of? What are the things happening in the world right now that really break your heart? And then what are the organizations that are doing something about it? And pay attention to those organizations that you find and reach out to them to see if you can help with either time or skills or help with money. One more activity that I'm seeing people do and enjoy in retirement is writing. Writing your thoughts, writing your stories. My dad did this and he organized it into a short book. And I believe that part of this was to pass on some of the values, some of the learnings and experiences that he had as a kid and growing up and getting through work. He could pass that on to his kids and grandkids, because he, like many others, when you get into the third act, you realize that you've got assets, right? But it's not just financial assets. You may have seen this before. You do have the financial assets now, hopefully, but you also have some other things, intellectual assets and human assets. Your knowledge and skills and unique abilities, your family, your values and faith and relationships, all of that. And the question that we ask sometimes, and maybe you've seen, is if you could only pass on 2 of these types of assets to your heirs or to people that you know, which ones would you want to pass on? A lot of people pick that. And the reason is because if they didn't get any of this, you can actually use these to help whoever got these values and things to actually make the financial assets back. So in retirement, you might have more time to think and to pray and to write or journal than you've ever had before. You're important and unique, and you have some things to share that could help others, and it's an exciting time for you. So retirement can be a wonderful time, but you need to do some effort. You need to put in some effort on the non-financial side of things too. I hope this was helpful. If it was, subscribe so that you don't miss the next one. Share it with someone who you think could benefit, or at least click the like button so that hopefully it spreads to others. And then I'll see you in the next video. Take care.